The Critshow contains elements of horror, fantasy violence, and adult language. Content warnings can be found in the episode description.
Hey everybody, Rev here. Before we get into this week's episode, I have got information for you about the live show at Gen Con. So first off, the most important thing, you can get tickets for it at thecritshowpodcast.com/GenCon. The show will be on Saturday, August the 3rd at 8 p.m. The doors to the theater will open at 7:30. It is general admission seating, and it is on the 4th floor in the upper stage theater at the Indiana Repertory Theater. The whole cast will be there, and we will have a couple of surprise guests, and we're doing something new. I said this before, we're doing something different that we're all super excited about. We actually have the recording part of it very soon, and we can't wait. We're so excited. We are doing a loving homage to our favorite Across the Pond game show, which we are calling Game Master. So please join us that night as the contestants go through some pre-recorded games that they have played, and our special guest judge will rank them best to worst, give them points, and at the end of the evening, we'll have a winner. This is something that we have talked about doing for a couple of months now. I'm so excited that we were able to get the people and the places together to figure this out. Special thanks to Mork Productions. We will have more information about them at the live show, but they are the film production crew that helped us make this possible. So again, this is going to be Saturday the 3rd at 8 p.m. It's general admission. The theater opens at 7:30, so you can come in and pick your seat. It is on the 4th floor in the upper stage theater, and you do not need a Gen Con badge to attend, so if you are in the area but not going to Gen Con, we still hope to see you at the show. Boy, I think besides that, I don't think I've got anything else. I'm too jazzed because I am going to be assigning the games to the players, and I've got the list in front of me of the games that we'll be playing. I think it's going to be a good time. So we hope to see you there. Enjoy the episode.
We have completed another milestone in this adventure, and so I think it is a good time to do the end of session, or the session start extra moves, reviewing beliefs, goals, and bonds, and maybe earning some grit. So, for starters, does anybody feel like they have achieved their character's goal?
Yes.
And what was it?
Specifically to figure out where the monsters were coming from.
And so you have. So you can take one grit and write yourself a new goal. Anybody else feel like they've achieved their character's goal?
No, I mean, I'm still trying to undermine Nash's personnel, but I think his personnel sort of undermined me pretty hard this time.
Yeah, sort of overmined you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that the Sculler and I made a connection, but I wouldn't call it a very genuine one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, genuine in the way that, like, life or death.
It was pretty visceral, I suppose, but
your arm was genuinely inside that stinger.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a connection.
that was intimate. Yeah, it was intimate. I don't know if it was genuine.
If only it said intimate connection.
Yeah.
I think I've achieved mine. Convince or help bad monsters to be good. The idea was he's been using these creatures and monsters in these different worlds for his own purposes, and I wanted to help any instance of them that I could not be under the corruption that they've been influenced by that's kind of mutated them and driven them to like attack everything and be kind of almost mindless beasts that are just angry all the time. Popping that bubble and clearing the corruption from the ley line, I'm removing the means by which they were being manipulated.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So you can take a grit and write a new goal.
I think my new goal is going to be to reforge the connection between the three territories. Like, now that this corruption is gone, I want to see if they can all be neighbors again. Like, instead of, it just gets worse as you go out, don't go out. Like, can this mend some of that stuff so that we leave this world a little better?
All right. A lofty and noble goal.
Yeah.
I think mine is to get Ingrid her great-great-grandfather's gun back. Like, he absolutely gave his life to protecting this world and to bring back Tass to us. And nobody knew he was there. And I think kind of reconnecting him to his descendant in a way would be really important.
All right. Does anybody feel that they've resolved their bond with another character?
Man, I mean, maybe Tass. Like, I watched you die, Tass.
Mm-hmm.
What was your bond with Tass?
Well, my bond with him previously was like I had labeled it Vision Twins, and we were at 2 bonds. But like I mourned you for hours before the rest of our party showed up. Like I don't know. I think that has to deepen a relationship, right?
That sounds like something that would strengthen a bond, but it doesn't sound like it like resolves a bond. You know, like I think your bond being Vision Twins, that part of it would have had to change somehow.
Okay, but I do think that there is a change in relationship from like, yay, we're buds and we bond over, like, we both see the future to a certain degree, to like, you sacrificed your life for me and I had to watch you die and deal with that. I think that changes the relationship on a pretty fundamental level.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think, you know, resolving a bond is about like how do you boil down how you relate to this other person? So you can still be Vision Twins, and that doesn't mean that that's not true anymore. But if the way you would describe your connection to Tass, or like how you feel you are bonded, is now different because of that, then yes, I think that counts as resolving the bond.
Okay.
So Kim, you can take 1 grit and write a new bond with Tass. What do you think that is now, or how is that worded now?
I increased the bond from 2 to 3. What I wrote down was literally died for me.
Fair enough. Anybody else feel like they've resolved a bond?
I feel like Megan and I ended up doing more stuff and going through more stuff again, but I don't know that it's different than what we've already done, so I don't think so.
It's more intense, but it is the same connection.
Yeah.
So no further resolutions then yet.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so on my bonds, but I do feel like I have something new for my issue slot, since I had resolved being hunted by this world's gunslinger and kind of had nothing for a while. Rev brought up a really good point. You know, something that I had mentioned that I was clearly worried about is just that thought that I was very worried about the fact that I didn't see Jake where he should be when I went back through, and that was like blindsiding me in a way. So I think that has like stuck in my mind, and I'm going to go with my issue of being preoccupied. Like, that's always in the back of my head that we need to move a little faster. We really need to stay on the ball, because what the hell's going on over there? We got to get back and make sure everything's okay.
All right. I like this. Once you resolve your issue, you don't have to give yourself a new issue. It's on me to give you a new issue later when it seems fictionally relevant. But thank you for that, because it seems hugely fictionally relevant. So go ahead and take that new issue.
I will. Fuck.
You could have maybe gotten away with murder. Rev has been for quite a while,
Yeah,
because I keep forgetting to give him a new issue.
Just got to keep your head down.
All right. Does anybody want to, can anybody even pay 5 grit for any level ups? Does anybody have any advancement they can or want to do?
Nope.
Okay. Nobody has any permanent body debilities that they would need to heal up. So that brings us to the end of our pre-post session review. Your party is marching down the tunnel back towards the edge of the Anvil, towards the exit. Who's leading the charge? Or is anybody in particular, like, keeping an eye out for anything? The scuttler or anything else?
I don't think I would be leading the charge. I have no idea where we are, but I would certainly probably stay nearer the back and just keep an eye out, make sure nothing's sneaking up or coming out of any little side passages or cracks or whatever.
I'm probably in front again with the lantern floating out in front of us.
All right. The 5 of you walk for a while, Megan leading your path by lantern light, and the tunnel starts to widen now. This time as you are heading back out, the passage around you gets broader and broader, and you again reach a point where you can hear that familiar sound, that sound of something off in the dark, something large, hold up. You know that you are approaching where the scuttler was hunkered down, and from the sound of it, it still is. What do y'all want to do?
I want to try to reach out mentally and see if I can get a gauge on its state of mind, if it's like still focused on healing or if it's more aware of like watching its surroundings for danger since it's not in this kind of drug-like trance anymore.
Why don't you roll to go weird? This will be level 3.
8.
Okay. You reach out and touch the scuttler's mind. And what you sense is a very different landscape from what it was last time. It is still preoccupied with healing, although it seems to be a lot more at peace now than it was last time you encountered it. But there is not that drugged haze over its emotions anymore. They seem clear and overall less vicious, less hostile. It is still clearly bestial, it's animalistic. It's not like there was a human intelligence hidden behind there or anything, but it doesn't seem like a creature that's just trying to fuck shit up anymore. It's just like an animal in a habitat. It wants to do its thing. It doesn't want no trouble.
I think we're okay if we just sneak past here. It's doing a lot better. It's healed up more, but it's far less angry than it was before. The corruption, I think, was doing a lot more than just making them grow in size. It was making them incredibly hostile. I think we just give it its space.
So, 0 chance of befriending and riding it?
Well, I wouldn't say 0.
Oh, don't. You're giving me an inch here.
Tass, please don't die to this thing again.
Listen, it's a whole different monster now. Megan just said as much.
Yeah, I know that this is coming from Tass just wanting to be friends with a kaiju, but I mean, I genuinely think that could be a possibility. It's not one I want to jump to, but let's back pocket that one, huh?
Okay.
Just don't look at it. Just keep your eyes on the ground.
Okay, I'm just going to put my hand on somebody's shoulder and close my eyes.
Okay. You all give it a wide berth, sticking to the opposite side of the tunnel. And as you go by, your lantern light again just barely illuminates it. You can see the reflection in its many eyes. And it does kind of skitter back and away from all of you a bit, like backs itself up against that chunk of ley line, trying to keep its distance from you as well. But you are able to make it past without issue. And you guys are trying to head all the way back to, like, the opening, right? Like, not towards the tunnel that you climbed into and out of, but back to where you saw its goodies.
Yeah.
Okay. You march on and walk and walk and walk until you can see clearly in the distance the giant opening out off of the side of the anvil. From what you can tell, it seems like the sun's getting fairly low at this point. It's been a lot of time. A lot has happened today, and a lot of time has passed just in transit. But between you and there, you start to see little knickknacks. You start to see tools, pieces of furniture, pieces of equipment. Just those little things you spotted from the outside that it seems like the scuttler has squirreled away in here. What are you looking for?
Looking around for things that I could use in construction. We've had the thought of trying to build something that, like, attracts to the ley line and using it as almost sort of a magnet or a track to move vertically up the spike.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know. I have no idea what's happening or like what I'm looking for. So just every little, even remotely interesting thing that is like handheld size, I'm going to pick up and look at and give a and then just idly hand it over to Kim and just keep doing that until she gets irritated and tells me to stop.
I think he came back broken.
Yeah, he came back with brain damage, which is a choice he's made all his own.
It's just nice to have a man give me presents.
Okay, so I've got kind of a weird idea. What I'm imagining is like the, I don't know what the name of it would be. You know the carnival rides that's like the bunch of spokes and then there's like a little seat at the end of each of the spokes and it like spirals around.
Ferris wheel.
It's not a Ferris wheel. It's like I've heard it called the spider. It's not a spider.
Like the also like I've heard like the scrambler or
I feel like
Yeah.
it's like a scrambler except it's elevated. Is that what you're talking about?
It's like up. Yeah, it's elevated and it's usually tilted like 45 degrees or something.
If you took the scrambler, the trio of scrambler cars that's normally on the ground going wild, and you you stuck a stick in the middle of it and
Yeah.
hung it from something.
The one I'm thinking of is like they're each on their own spoke, which I think is probably why it was called a spider. But yes, that kind of idea of like, and then it rotates and then the whole thing kind of spins around in a circle. It's like if you dropped a dish and it like tilted around. Yeah, wobble, 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 wobble.
Let's talk more about the intricacies of carnival rides.
Yeah.
Let me call my friend Poor Jack.
With that said, what are you looking for?
Okay.
I don't think there's one of those in here.
For someone with no mind's eye, this conversation is absolutely baffling. I cannot even
Unfollowable.
begin to piece together what it is you are trying to describe.
I liked the Himalaya. You guys remember that one?
I do.
Yeah.
So many of these rides have different names. It's the same
Yeah.
ride, but in different places. And the only carnival we ever really had growing up was like middle of nowhere. Carnies show up in the middle of the night and it gets set up in front of the local gas station, you know, and then like disappears 3 days later.
Yeah.
And then maybe if we were lucky, go to Central States Fair.
Right. And your dad had like made a wish and now
Yeah,
he's 12
yeah.
years old. and-
I'm hoping to find a working funicular in the Scuddler's Lair to get up the mountain. Do you need to Google
I do,
funicular?
which means I also need to know how it's spelled. I was going to go like Bunicula, but with like an F.
Funiccular.
That was actually extremely close to Bunicula, but with an F.
Yeah. It's basically kind of like a diagonal train.
Okay, having looked at a picture of this, I don't think I'm going to have you roll. I think that is beyond the scope of shit that would exist here, both in terms of advancement of technology and in terms of the landscape of this place. Like, other than the spike, you guys haven't really seen anywhere steep, you know, like anywhere that would need to be traversed upwards with a vehicle like that.
Okay, here we go. Here's a picture of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's not at all what I thought you were describing.
Yeah.
that is exactly what I was picturing.
Like I said, it's like several different spokes coming out, and then there's like a car at the end of each one. And so it's kind of angled at like 45 degrees, and it moves around like it wobbles, but each of the seats kind of spins around on its own as well.
Bring me back to why this was relevant.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I want to build one.
The whole ride?
Not the entire ride, but the kind of structure of being like, okay, there's these different spokes that come out, and each of them kind of have like a seat on it. I want to do the plate wobble up the spike. I want each of the seats to have that like whatever magical magnet we put in, so that we can like kind of like spin, and then the next car in the sequence or the next thing.
So we're each in one of these seats and we got a magnet under our butt, and so it like climbs up using that force.
Using just that idea of like we're moving upwards, and each one we do, the magnet is pulling it inside the spike. Jake's face right now is like how could this work? How could this be true?
I can understand your description of how it functions. What I'm stuck on is, can you make it in a cave with a box of scraps? So, back to, what are you looking for? Like, what are you looking for to construct this? What would you think you could build this out of?
All right, so the structure of this, I think I want to have something like a top be the center to come to a point, and that's what's going to go against the side of the spike. Then from there, I think like the 5 spokes that come out to each one of like a seat of some sort. I don't think it has to be like fully a chair, but a flat surface that we can have hit against the side of the mountain as it's going up.
My vertigo is getting triggered just picturing
we're gonna throw
this.
up the whole time.
I was going to ask, is there a reason you're making us sit on the legs as opposed to like being on top of the top?
No. Because that's how the carnival ride works. And that's what came into my head. And now I have to justify it because I said a dumb thing.
Where's your sense of adventure?
Megan's your engineer. You're at the mercy of her creative vision.
We're going to go back to the train, to the medical car. We're each going to take some Dramamine, and then we're going to do it.
All right. Never mind. Scratch this. New plan. So it's kind of the same thing. But we're in the middle. And I think that'll make it easier to kind of like make each of the spokes be a magnet to this. And then in the middle is like I was going to say a ship's wheel, but we're in the desert.
All I care about is that the audience eventually can picture it.
I know. I'm trying to picture it as I'm saying it.
I am picturing every word you're saying crystal clear. I want that to be understood.
But based on how you're always saying, like, no, nobody else understands what you're saying, I feel like that doesn't.
That's a bad vote.
That doesn't bode well for our audience.
Oh my God.
I love you, but that's not the vote of confidence.
Oh,
shit.
so funny.
Oh, God. Okay.
Oh.
I have never been more accurately called out in my life.
Oh, my God.
Oh. Okay, so what I'm picturing now from your new description is like the thing at like a playground where you sit on it and you turn the wheel in the middle and it spins the thing you're sitting on.
Yes, except what would be spinning isn't the thing that we are sitting on. It's the spokes of the octopus.
It's like the legs around you.
legs, yes, of the octopus.
I can visualize this. I understand what you're describing, I think.
So, it's a top. We're all standing on the top. There's a spike coming out of the middle with like a big round plate on it. And then there's a bunch of legs coming out, and each of those has like a structure with a flat end. And then it's going to go against the side, and we're going to spin the big plate standing in the middle, and then all the legs move in a big circle, and then each one of the legs, as it comes in contact around the top of the spike, it magnets to the ley line inside and moves its way up.
I get it.
Okay.
Do we all?
Yeah.
Can we all? Other than Kim.
It's like one of those sticky octopuses, but in reverse. Like that you would throw on the wall and it would go and climb
Yeah.
down.
Okay, so I think we're going to start with an investigate roll to see if you can find the requisite parts among the detritus in here. Not like the investigate move, because you're not just looking for miscellaneous relevant facts. I think use a skill plus mind plus investigate.
Haven't I been through enough? You're making me roll.
You're going to have to roll a couple of things here.
7.
Okay, so as far as finding the parts goes, you can find more or less what you need to construct this. The thing that's going to be missing is the element that would like kind of self-stabilize this. Basically what I'm imagining is that once you get in this thing, it's all built and it's operational, you're still going to need to operate it. Like there's going to be a drive roll. That's all. You can't just hop in it and set it off and it's going to carry you to the top. You're going to need to steer it. You're going to need to do the thing.
Okay.
But you are able to find all of the other requisite components, which brings us to the gadgeteer roll. So go ahead and roll plus mind plus engineering to actually construct this. And are we constructing it down here in the den? Or are we like trying to get any of these pieces to the surface first?
I feel like we gotta get it to the surface first. We can't safely transport this entire structure up the side of this in one piece, I think.
I mean, its job, though, is to go up the sides of shit. Because
that's true.
I don't want to be leading here, but I'm curious how you would get these parts to the surface before this thing was built.
If we try to build it down here, what it's climbing is the magic core. That's what it's connecting to, so we don't have that out here.
That's a good point.
I have telekinesis.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Fucking, we'll build it down here. You can throw it up there.
Yeah.
Okay, give me the gadgeteer roll.
14.
Hell yeah.
Boxcars.
What?
Damn, okay. On a 10 plus, the gadget works more or less as planned.
Unbelievable.
So, you get this octopus crawler constructed. Megan, a lot of this is coming down to you, but it sounds like now you need to rocket this thing to the surface.
Yeah.
Sure do.
And it sounds like the closest equivalent here is going to be the size of a wagon. It's not the size of a locomotive, but it's bigger than a horse.
That's fair.
So, go weird at level 6.
10.
Yes.
I rolled a 4 on the first one, and I was like, oh no.
Thank God. All right, you telekinesis this thing out the side and up to the surface. Are you on the ground, or are you like static shock? Are you all aboard this thing and making it move?
On a 10? I think we're on it.
I was going to say, if I can do that, this didn't need to be that complicated. I could have just telekinesed us up the edge.
Well, I think doing this up like a straight vertical mile would be a lot harder would expect a lot more of you than doing it up from the den.
Half a mile?
Yeah, think about, compounding.
Interest.
Yeah, exponential.
Yeah, regardless, we make it up there too.
So, you get the device and yourselves to the surface as dusk sets in. What's the plan? It is still a pretty good trek from the edge of the anvil to the face of the spike. Are you just trying to telekinesis this thing the whole way? Are you trying to make it operate in some function to get you there, or do you have a different way to transport this thing?
Can we tip it up onto the spokes and have like a rope on the top and bottom of the centrifuge area and just have the horses and pull it?
So just like a big wheel?
Yeah. I mean, big wheel keeps on turning.
Keeps on turning?
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking that, or trying to get it to work the way we're hoping it will in the center, but horizontally, like along the ley line that goes underneath the ground. But I know that we didn't see it, but we didn't see any sign of the ley lines until we had already been in the tunnels for a while, right?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't start revealing themselves in the wall, but that was kind of off and on as you got closer. I don't think you guys know where all the ley lines run. And I think it's safe to think you might need the heat of the big one that's in the center to make this thing defy gravity, but you might not need so much just to kind of make it roll like a wheel normally would. You can get away with less connection between the ley line and the magnets.
So then between the theoretical ley line that might be there and the horses, we could keep up a steady tempo with it.
I like that.
Okay. I don't think this is going to necessitate any roll then.
I am definitely keeping an eye out as we go, especially now that it's dark. Just, checking for any more werewolves and ghouls and vampires and whatever else that might be creeping around.
So just generally keeping an eye out for trouble?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think you need to roll for that either. You don't spot any trouble over the course of this journey. What you do notice is just a change in the nighttime action that you have been observing when you've been keeping watches. You've seen creatures out and about. You've seen the monolithic kaiju silhouettes off in the distance, but everything's had an air of stalking to it, of keeping an eye from the shadows. You see critters just out and about on your journey. You see some that look like standard, lizards, snakes, scorpions, some that look corrupted, for lack of a better word, but all of them just going about their business. It seems like having cleansed the corruption from the ley line, it has kind of sent a wash of normalcy over most of the creatures out here. And it doesn't seem like everything's hunting you anymore.
I think I point that out as we go. Just every normal, possibly even cute little thing I see. You guys really cleaned it up out here. This is amazing.
Yeah, I wonder the effect that it's had on the people that were affected by the corruption.
Hopefully we survive long enough to find out.
So with a little bit of diligence and a lot of time traveling, you are able to cover the entire open expanse of Lost Hope and reach the base of the spike. By the time you arrive here, it's fully dark outside, but the moon is shining bright overhead, so you don't have a lot of trouble seeing where you're going and what you're doing. So, reaching the base of the spike, it's time to launch this vehicle.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Who will be the primary operator?
What kind of role is this guy?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you.
I feel like not.
Not
That's
it.
it.
Not
Period.
it. No. I feel like not Megan or I, because I would be watching the magic runes to make sure they attach correctly, and then I feel like you are our failsafe if something goes bad.
Yeah. I think I'm focused on the mechanics of it as opposed to the actual steering. I'm making sure that the car is okay. I'm not necessarily watching the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is I don't have a reason why I should be operating this, but I also don't have a reason why I shouldn't be. So it sounds like it's me.
Okay. Kim, then give me a ride/drive roll.
I know. I guess it does have to kind of be one person. I was wondering if the steering could be a group effort as far as the two of us that don't have a specific role. Like, could that be a group role with me?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it as like one person needs to operate it, but what I meant and what I described when you were looking for parts was just it can't go unsteered.
Sure,
but not that
sure.
one individual needs to do it. So this could be a teamwork.
All right. 6.
4.
Tass, you got anything you can invoke? You got any grit to spend?
Yes. My goal is to undermine Nash's personnel. While I don't know specifically what the person's role is at the top, it is sure some sort of gunslingery person that was in some fashion put there by Nash, and I am determined to get up there and deal with it. So I would, if you would allow me, spend a grit to invoke pure determination to get up there and deal with whoever this person is.
Okay, I'll start by saying, yes, I accept that. I do want to add on, I feel like you went into that just kind of thinking that if you said enough words and left out enough punctuation that eventually you'd get somewhere and I would accept it.
I do not contest your assessment.
Okay, mark off that grit.
Cool. So 7.
All right, so you'll succeed, but with cost, danger, worse outcome, or an ugly choice, and whatever that is, it's Kim's fault.
I didn't even want to do this. It's just that everyone else didn't want to do this.
You all get this thing moving, and it starts off kind of slow going, but you fall into a groove. You get like your relative twists of the power mechanism and a pretty good flow, and you're moving at a clip. But as you get close to the top, Kim's rhythm falls off a little bit. And I know it's hilarious because Kim's the music one and is so good at the rhythm.
I'm a little offended.
But it gets too quick. Your tempo gets a little bit too fast. And that plate wobble motion, it's like when it's getting to the end of the wobble and every edge is touching just pretty quick, you start moving way fast. And rather than being able to kind of crest the top of this at a calm pace, maybe even sneaky, you just fucking rocket up over the edge at the top, catch a little bit of air, and then the octopus slams down onto the ground.
Oh no, not my beautifully thought out construction.
Sorry, Megan.
It is not broken or damaged or anything. It's still intact, but you've made an entrance, to be sure.
Well, I mean, we'll climb out of this thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are we seeing up here? What are we looking at as we're clambering out of the wreckage?
You're looking at a stretch of terrain that doesn't look so different from the one you just left behind. It kind of looks like Lost Hope up here. It is just a flat, barren expanse. As you step out of the vehicle, you feel the ground crunch beneath your feet and realize that you are just stepping on bones. Just all kinds of tiny bones up here. As Rev had described, that figure seemed to be shooting birds down. Seems like he's been doing that for a real long time. About 100 feet away, sort of inland from the edge here, you see a figure. Rev, it's the figure that you saw through your magic window. And I think everybody else can tell it's the figure he described. Standing over 6 feet tall, very slim, spindly, wearing a tattered duster and similar hat. Seems to be facing your direction, though his chin is down. His face is mostly covered by the brim of this hat. But you can see that pale, taut skin just on the hands and through the tears in the cloth, exposing parts of the arms, the chest, the legs. He has a bandolier strung across his chest. You can see the butt of a rifle sticking up over his shoulder as if it's slung on his back. And you see him lift both of his hands up in front of himself and just start clapping, slowly. Well, I was expecting company, but I certainly wasn't expecting an entrance like that. Y'all got a lot more style than I would have given you credit for. And he lifts his chin up and you can see his face. It is not anybody that you recognize. It's somewhat hard to make out identifying details at all. Chunks of flesh around the cheeks, the mandibles are missing. You can just see exposed teeth, kind of Jonah Hex style. You can see the skull just through an open, rotted gash in the forehead. It seems like one of the eyelids is damaged or missing. Just that eye is almost bugging out of his head. But you can tell that he is grinning in your direction.
Why exactly were you expecting us?
Well, I felt the bubble pop. I've been keeping an eye on y'all. Knew that you were up to something down there. Figured that was the end of it, and your next stop would be me.
So were you placed up here voluntarily?
He kind of like tips the bill of his hat back and puts his thumbs like in the front of his belt, settles back on his heels as he looks at you. Deciding where I go and what I do isn't really a luxury that's afforded to me.
What's your name, friend?
I don't have a name. As far as you're concerned, I'm a perfect stranger.
Like, you don't have a name now, or like you never had a name? Or you just don't want to tell me your name?
He kind of shrugs. Why does that matter? What are y'all here to do? Because I would have to assume, if I was a gambling man, that you're here to kill me. So what's it matter what my name is?
We're not here to kill you necessarily. We're just trying to mar this ritual circle you got up here.
Yeah, it matters because depending on what you're doing here or the reasons why you're doing them affects how this goes. And I think an exchange of names is a good place to start with that.
He smiles. I see. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but no, I don't have a name. I was never given one. I hope that you can find in your heart to connect with me anyhow.
May I ask a question, sir?
Sure.
If we did want to find the runes that are up here, we believe somewhere, and mar them, what would you try to do about that?
He just kind of like lifts a chin up, like gesturing. Hell, you ain't got to find the runes. They're all around. And you can see, as Rev did in his vision, that the runes seem to just form a ring kind of around the perimeter on the surface here. But you take one step to him and I'm going to put you down.
See, that's what I was getting to. So, okay.
See, and that's fine. I don't understand why we need to beat around the bush.
Well, okay, example. We've done this once before. Out of fairness, I missed it. But there was like a U type of situation going on at one of these circles that once given the chance, it swam away. It left. And we would be okay with that. If you don't want to have anything to do with this, cool, man.
You say if we step to the rune, you're going to put us down. Are you going to put us down because you want to or because you have to?
Well, personally, I don't see much of a difference.
I draw and shoot.
All right, Tass, give me a shoot roll, and you are going to do so at a -3.
Flat roll, then. 8.
You draw and fire. Pull the trigger once. Your shot rings out. You see it strike this figure right in the torso. You pull the trigger a second time, and your gun jams. And he takes that step backwards and steadies himself. Hoo-hoo-hoo! You know why they put me here? Because sometimes I get awfully lucky. And as you struggle with your jammed gun, he reaches for his.
The Critshow is a Critshow Studios production, edited and produced by Brandon Wentz with music by Jake Purley. You can find more information about us at thecritshowpodcast.com. To keep up to date with upcoming live shows, contests, and other special events, follow us at The Crit Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For even more weekly content, join us at patreon.com/thecritShow.